And in this position here, white can continue with the move h4 with the idea of pushing h5, trying to destroy this pawn structure. But black can continue with the move knight to a5, attacking this bishop, but simply bishop to d3, and now comes h5, so that white cannot push this pawn further. But white can go for bishop to f4. Yes, he can target this queen, but black can counter with e5, attacking this bishop, bishop to g5, attacking this rook, but again f6. And after this bishop goes back, here black can continue with b6. And in the next move, black can develop this bishop to b7. And yes, this position is better for white due to this pawn structure that are guarding the black king. On the other hand, the same pawn structure are also holding and not allowing white pieces to continue the attack further. Okay, so in the actual game, after rook to d8, here Geller goes for f4. He plays the most aggressive move in this position, preparing to push f5, trying to shatter black king side pawn structure, which is g6 and h7 pawn. And it also opens the f file for the rooks if this exchange happens. But guys, there is a move which black can play in this position, which is the move bishop to g4. And guys, that's a really good move, which first of all pins this knight, as well as keeping an eye over this f5 square. But what if white decides to push h3? And guys, if white goes for h3, he tries to attack this bishop. That will be a mistake, because firstly black will capture this pawn on d4, bishop takes d4, bishop takes d4 check, c takes d4, and guys, now comes rook takes d4, taking benefit of this pinned knight. And since this queen is attacked, so that's why queen to e1. And yeah, black can also go for queen to c2, but queen to e1 is slightly better, because in the future white can go to this h4 square, which is the best square for this queen to attack the black king. Okay, and now comes bishop takes e2, queen takes e2, queen to b6. And since black is now threatening to give a discovered check like this, so that's why came to h1. And now suddenly you can see black is better due to these active pieces. Okay, so in the actual game, after the move f4, yeah, let me go back to the move. Here Smyslov goes for e6, so that he can stop this pawn push, and again white has to push this pawn to h4. But here Geller decides to go for king to h1, which is also good, getting out from any future threats. And now for black, here the move queen to e7 might be the better option, so that he can keep an eye over this c5 pawn, as well as black can anytime bring this queen to h4 if required. But here he goes for b6, preparing for bishop to b7. And since this bishop is attacked, so that's why bishop to d3. But guys, let me go back to the move, which is the move f5. And now you might be shocked that in this position the best move for black is not knight to a5, it is the move knight to e5. And most of you will be like, bro, what kind of move is that? Yes, we know this knight cannot be captured because of this pinned pawn, but what about the move bishop to f4, which pins this knight? And guys, that's exactly what black wants. I mean, this is an intentional move. And since this knight is pinned, so the best move for black is to just slide this queen to e7. And let's suppose if bishop takes e5, bishop takes e5, and obviously white can't capture this bishop due to this pin, so that's why queen to b3. And yes, black can capture on d4, c takes d4, targeting this bishop, bishop takes d4, knight takes d4, and finally rook takes d4. And suddenly you can see black successfully activates his pieces, and black is back into the game. Okay, so in the actual game, after bishop to d3, here Semislav decides to capture on f5. Okay guys, now for black, it's better to just capture on d4, trying to just simplifying the position. And now comes knight to c4. Okay, targeting this queen. And let's suppose if white goes for queen to g5, simply queen to c6. And you can see this game will continue like this. But guys, after knight to g3, here black made a mistake by queen to c6. And that's a mistake because there is no point in doing that. I mean, this queen is already guarding this g2 square, and in this position here Geller goes for rook to f2, preparing for rook to f1, creating a battery so that he can continue this pawn push. And after that he goes for rook at a goes to d8, but guys, it's better to just slide this bishop back to h8 because now Geller instantly brings his bishop to h6, asking for bishop exchange. And obviously he cannot capture this bishop because of this simply queen takes h6, and in the next move this and this. So now I think you all understand that why he didn't exchange this bishop. Okay, so now queen to f4, and guys, you can see in the next move he is threatening to capture on g6 with the idea of queen takes f7. So to defend this, here Semislav goes for rook to d7. And in the next and in this position, here Geller finds a genius move, which is knight to e4. And guys, that's a really amazing move, bringing another piece into the attack. And let's suppose if black decides to capture on e4 by rook takes e4, and guys, that will be a huge blunder because of the move bishop takes e4. Since this queen is attacked, so let's suppose if queen takes e4, although the best move is this, but let's suppose if he goes for queen takes e4, queen to b8 check, and you can see now no one can stop this mate. Okay, so in the actual game, after knight to e4, here Semislav goes for c4. He goes for c4, but instead it's better for black to go for queen to c7 so that he can add more defense to this 7th rank, as well as trying to exchange this queen. And again, queen to c7 is recommended, but he goes for rook takes e4, and now comes the most interesting part of this game. In this position, here Geller decides to sacrifice his queen by capturing on g6 by f takes g6. Completely attack, and you can see, let's suppose if rook takes f4, now comes this beautiful mate, which is g takes h7 checkmate. Look at this beautiful mate. a mate by this pawn and this and these both bishops. That's really amazing. So that's why after the move f takes g6, here Semislav goes for f6, trying to getting out from this threat. But guys, now comes another god level blow, which is queen to g5. And again, black cannot capture this queen due to the threat of rook to f8 check, and rook takes f8, and finally rook to f8 mate. So to defend this, queen to d7. And guys, now rook takes f6 is also winning, and let me know in the comments that why rook takes f6 is winning. But for now, in this position here, Geller plays a waiting move, which is king to g1, a silent move. And now you can see black is in zugzwang. Every move he makes from now on will be a bad move. He continues with the move bishop to g7, but again Geller here sacrificed his rook by rook takes f6. A beautiful, a brilliant move. And obviously bishop takes f6 is losing because of queen takes f6, and there is a mate in 2. So that's why and now I just want you all to pause the video and try to find the next killer move played by Geller. And I think most of you got the move. Yes, you are right. The move is queen takes g4. And in this position, Vasily Smyslov resigned. This is because if queen takes g4, rook to f8 check, rook takes f8, rook takes f8 check. The only move is queen to g8, and finally rook takes g8 checkmate. What an amazing game, guys. What an amazing game. And imagine this game was played back in 1965. This is your host Bison signing off. Bye bye.